Hi. I'm in a really good mood. I just finished watching some of Syndicate's GTA 5 videos, which always puts me in a good mood. If you haven't seen him, check him out. Especially if you like GTA 5. He's hilarious. Um, and it's a good thing I'm in a good mood because for the last couple days I haven't been. Um, Car broke down, $850. So that kind of sucks. But anyway, I've moved into a different room because I think the light's better. So we'll see. When I watched through the last video, I didn't much care for the lighting. So this might work better. I'm also using my USB mic that I use for voiceover stuff and podcast edits and things like that. So let me know. I tested it before I started this recording, but we'll just have to see how well it works out. Let me know if the sound on the previous one was better or whatever. Before I get started, a couple of things to clear up. First, I want to thank everybody that subscribed already. I was really happily surprised to see that I got some subscribers. I don't understand enough yet about how this whole thing works to figure out who my first subscriber was. I think Hannah commented that she was number 5, so thank you for that. And you know, I'd love to get some feedback from anybody who's watching these, to let me know what you think and if there's anything else you want me to, any topics you want me to rant about, because I'm pretty happy to go on a roll about almost anything. This time it's going to be US Airways and their policies, and in particular this one particular ticket agent that I had to deal with at LAX when I picked Taylor up for VidCon. So stay tuned. This next however long should be a little bit of fun. Okay, so as many of you know, Taylor lives on the East Coast and I live in Northern California. Been that way for the last couple of years, and she's flown back and forth several times in that time. When we first started doing this, she was 14 and had to be, or maybe 13, and had to be flown as an unaccompanied minor, which, if you don't know what that means, it means basically that you just have to pay a bunch more money for pretty much nothing. The biggest advantage to it is that when the unaccompanied minor arrives at their destination, the person picking them up has to show ID at the gate and sign a form to prove that they're the person who was assigned to pick them up. Okay. Other than that, you're paying $150 each way, $200 each way for basically nothing. The additional cost is ridiculous. Some airlines have much more common sense rules than others. I've used several different airlines in the last couple of years, and I'd say once she turned 15, we just stopped doing the unaccompanied minor thing because, we always make sure that she flies nonstop, not because she wouldn't be able to deal with a connecting flight or anything like that, but if there was a weather delay or a cancellation or something like that, she'd be stuck somewhere in the middle of the country, and would have to deal with it basically on her own. And I guess the argument would be if you pay the unaccompanied minor fee, they'll put the traveler up overnight in a hotel with two employees of the airline, and whatever. I would like to think in the 21st century that they would do that anyway, and not say, well, you didn't give us 400 extra round trip dollars, so we're just gonna strand your kid in the airport overnight. But that's just me. I will say, if I remember right in my research previously, Southwest, as with so many other things, has the most common sense policies. The only problem is they don't fly nonstop coast to coast, so I haven't been able to use them. So when I booked the tickets for VidCon, this time was different than any of the other times that she's flown out here, because I was flying her into Los Angeles instead of San Francisco. So I wanted to, I got to LA a few days ahead of time, and then I was going to pick her up at LAX when she got to California. It was especially important to me to be able to meet her at the gate because she'd never been to LAX before. And after 5.5 hours on a plane, just, whatever. I mean, I've always met her at the gate, never thought that it would be an issue. So I guess you can probably figure out where I'm going with this. Whenever I pick her up, I always arrive at the airport 2 hours early, as though I was flying myself, right? So I get to LAX 2 hours before her flight's scheduled to land. It was actually more than that, because I didn't want to deal with traffic on the 405. So I went, down the 5 to the 110 to the 105 and went across that way. Got there way early, and it's a good thing I did, because I made the mistake of booking her flight on US Airways. Never again. I get to the ticket counter, and this is old hat for me by now, and old hat on the East Coast for her mom as well. You get there, you wait in line with the people that are checking in for their flights. You get up to the ticket counter and you say, I need a gate pass because I'm picking up my daughter or my child or whoever, and I want to meet them at the gate. And you show them your state-issued ID. You give them the confirmation number of the flight, etc., etc. They give you a gate pass that is only good for that day. It looks just like a boarding pass, but it's not. It says right on it, gate access only, things like that. And it's just something for you to show to the TSA agents and security that shows that you are permitted into the secure area of the airport. I've done this so many times in the last few years that it's just habit at this point. So I get to the ticket counter at LAX. I wait in the line. I get up to the front, and the guy behind the counter, I tell the guy behind the counter, picking up my daughter, I need a gate pass. I'm expecting to hear what's her confirmation number, what's the last name, all that. All I get is, oh, only a supervisor can do that. I look down the counter. There's 3 or 4 out of the 6 windows open, just like always, right? They never have them all staffed, even though there's a long line. And there's a couple of people that aren't working with customers, and I'm like, okay, they're either just baggage people or they're supervisors. And then, so, okay, well, bring me one of them, right? No. He sends me down to the other end of the counter and back into another line of like 12 people. I'm fine. No worries. I'm not a demanding customer. I got there plenty early. I can wait in this line again. All these people are trying to make flights and stuff. I got plenty of time. So I get back in the other line. I finally get back up to the front, and there's no indication that the person I'm actually talking to is a supervisor. Her uniform's exactly the same. Her name tag's exactly the same. I think this guy just didn't want to deal with me or something. So I get up and I say the same thing to her, and she says, is she flying as an unaccompanied minor? Or no, I got stopped on my way to the second line. Sorry, let me clarify. I got stopped on my way to the second line, asked where I was going, told that person. She said, is she an unaccompanied minor? And I said, yes, because she is a minor and she is unaccompanied. But she was not, I didn't pay the additional fee. But I told this first woman, yes, she's flying as an unaccompanied minor, because that was grammatically correct. Okay. So then I get up to the front of the line the second time, and I'm greeted by Vivian. Vivian is not a pleasant person. And I see this over and over and over again in so many customer service jobs, and it blows my mind how these people got their jobs, why they chose their jobs, and how they keep their jobs. You see it at Department of Motor Vehicles, you see it at ticket counters, you see it at rental car counters, I mean, hotel desk clerks, you know. And yeah, I know, you deal with assholes all day. I get it. But that's your job. And I'm not an asshole. And I wasn't being an asshole. So for me to walk up to the counter and immediately be treated like one, that kind of sets me on edge. So she just basically says, yeah, I can't help you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I do this all the time. I do this multiple times a year. I've never had an issue. Well, we changed our policy. And I'm like, well, when did you change your policy? On the 11th. Well, June 11th. Well, I booked these flights on May 21st. There was nothing about any policy change when I booked the tickets. So I'm grandfathered in. Give me my gate pass. Nope. And I mean, it was just, you know, these people that just get off on telling you no. That's what this woman was doing. It was like you give people a little bit of power and it goes to their head. You know, how many people a day ask for gate passes? Am I taking up time in the security line? Am I, you know, what's the big deal here? Do you notice that my last name matches the last name of the person I'm picking up? Oh, no, you couldn't, because you didn't even bother asking me the confirmation number, my daughter's name, any of that. You just flat out refused from the moment I got to the counter to give me a gate pass. So my next question is, okay, if this is against policy, since I didn't pay the extra $150 each way, how come her mom got a gate pass when she dropped her off back east? No answer. She acted like she hadn't even heard my question. Side note here, I later went on to the US Airways website to see what the policy change was. And what the policy change was is that they went from, it used to be from age like 11 to 16, everybody was an unaccompanied minor. Now they've changed it where from 11, and don't quote me, I don't remember the exact ages, but it's like 11 to 13 or 14, maybe 15 are unaccompanied minor, and then 15 to 18 or something they call young adult traveling alone. Here's the interesting thing. The fee is exactly the same, whether it's an unaccompanied minor or a young adult traveling alone. The difference is the young adult traveling alone doesn't even get walked on and off the plane. So why it costs exactly the same, I have no idea. But that was the big policy change that she was talking about. So I'm shut down. I'm sitting here with Vivian, who's just marinating in her tiny little bit of power and watching me with steam pumping out of my ears while I know people are waiting in line behind me. And I'm hoping that the people in line behind me were going, wow, what a fucking bitch. But who knows? Maybe they thought I was being out of line. I didn't get loud. I didn't scream. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I did make sure to ask for her name and look at her name tag, and immediately took out my phone to call the 800 number. Unlike some people, I got out of the line, to make my phone call. I wasn't going to stand there and talk to customer service while blocking the line and not letting people check in for their flights. I was on hold for a half an hour, a little more than a half an hour. Again, luckily, I had gotten to the airport very, very early. When I finally get somebody on the phone, I explain the situation and am told in a very ambivalent tone, sorry, that's a decision that's under the purview of the ticket agents at the airport. Nothing we can do for you. Now, if this isn't the most piss poor customer service I've ever experienced, it's damn close. They just do not give two shits. And it's so funny because anybody that's ever flown before, you know, when you land and you're taxiing to the gate, the flight attendants always come over the intercom and say, we know you have so many choices in air travel, and thank you for choosing us. Well, guess what? I'm never choosing US Airways again, and I hope nobody that watches this does either, because they're a bunch of assholes. So what I did, since I had no other choice, was I texted Taylor, because I knew that once she landed, she'd turn her phone on and the text would come through. And I said, they won't let me come to the gate. Call me when you land and I'll talk you through it. And to be clear, the reason I wanted to go to the gate wasn't because I think Taylor can't make her way to baggage claim on her own, or she would be scared or freaked out, or what am I going to do? It's just, why the hell not let a parent pick their kid up at their gate? It's just, there's no reason. There's no reason. So that's exactly what happened. You know, Taylor got the text. She called me. I explained to her what happened. I said, just follow the baggage claim signs. I'll be waiting at the security door. If you have an issue, call me. And she's like, no, I see the baggage claim signs. I'm fine. She came out. It was fine. But then the whole time she was there, the whole time we were in LA and going to VidCon, there was this nagging thing in the back of both of our heads. What are we going to do when it's time for her to fly back east again? And every day on the way home from VidCon, she'd be like, so what do you think, what are you going to do when it comes time to drop me off? And I'd be like, well, you know, I'll try, maybe I'll call him, but we're busy. We're either driving back and forth to VidCon, or we're at VidCon, or we're sleeping, or we're whatever, and I know they're going to keep me on hold forever, and, you know, who wants to deal with that? We'll figure it out. We always do. So, finally, the end of her visit comes. Our flight was super early in the morning. I think we got to the airport at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And good old US Airways, you walk in, there's US Airways, and then there's, I don't know, a couple of the smaller airlines. I don't remember exactly which ones they were. US Airways line is backed up all the way through the queuing system. They do have a queuing system, VidCon. Take note. And then all the way down the hallway, past all the other empty ticket counters. And I noticed there was one part of the queuing system that was empty, and I'm like, oh, that must be first class or whatever, because nobody's using it, so let's go get in the line. We wait in this long-ass line. I haven't had any sleep. Taylor got a few hours. And the whole time we're in this line, I'm going over in my head every argument that I can think of that the ticket agent is going to give me of why I can't get a gate pass to take her to the gate. Line was probably about an hour. Luckily, we were well used to lines from spending 3 days at VidCon. We finally get up to where the actual queuing system is, and I see the sign on that one lane that nobody was using. And it was, if you've already checked in and just need to check a bag, you can use this line. Well, that's what our situation was. And I'm looking at this entire line, this line that we just waited in, all these hundreds of people, and I'm like, it's 2014. Are we literally the only people that checked in ahead of time? What the fuck? So we jump a couple people and get in that empty line, you know, trying not to kick myself too hard that I waited in that entire line before realizing that. I think maybe part of it was that the sky caps weren't there yet, so you couldn't check in at the curb. You know, I don't really know. All I know is there's an awful lot of people that hadn't checked in yet. We get up to the front. There's no line. We get up. Boom. We're right at the counter. And the guy waves me on. I'm like, all right, here we go. I got every argument I can think of lined up. This dude is in my sights. I'm going to take him down. Get up. She shows him her boarding pass on her iPhone. He confirms it. I put her bag on the scale. He puts the tag on it. And I say, oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to need a pass to take her to the gate. He says, I need to see your ID. Take my wallet out, show him my ID. He looks at it, compares it, hits a button. Gate pass prints out. He hands it to me. We're on our way. Fuck you, Vivian.